fought for so long, and that is racial justice. I want to get into more of John Lewis's life and his legacy with my panel. Derek Johnson is the president and CEO of the NAACP. Nicole Hannah-Jones is a staff writer for the New York Times Magazine and a Pulitzer Prize winner. Judith Browne Dianis is an executive director at the National Office of the Advancement Project. John Meacham is a historian and the author of His Truth is Marching On, a new biography of Lewis with an afterword by the late Congressman himself. Welcome to you all. Derek, I want to start with you on this one. I want your reaction first and foremost to the passing of Congressman John Lewis.
Well, we lost a moral giant. He's someone who exemplified for many of us the work we do. He started as a young person. He's a part of the Emmett Till generation, a generation of young people who've seen a horrific scene of Emmett Till's body being displayed for his funeral, and he took that resolve forward. Judy and I, who's on the panel, we had the privilege to participate in the 50th anniversary of Freedom Summer with the many veterans who were the colleagues of John Lewis. And those were individuals who were 17 and 18 and 19 and 20-year-old. They were the first generation of youth activists in the street that this nation began to recognize. And John Lewis, he has persevered from that time forward.
John, you wrote a book about Lewis. He was a friend of yours. You have spent some substantial time with him. Talk to us about his mark in history and how he is so much a part of what is happening in this country right now.
Well, he's a founding father for the best America can be. In many ways, the nation itself, as we understand it, can really be traced to 1964-65. Nicole's here. The argument about 1619 or 1776. One of my thoughts is that we are really only about 60 years old in having an integrated, desegregated electorate, in the battles we still fight, voting rights, say everybody's. But war was one family. He's up. The world is another day today as he's honored. And I think he is as important to the making of that America as Paul Revere was to the making of America in 1776. He is not simply a hero of the civil rights movement. He is a hero of America, the best America can and should be.
Judith, I've been thinking a lot about the Black Lives Matter movement in the last 24 hours or so as I learned of John Lewis's passing. And I read an op-ed from Jonathan Capehart that was published on June 10th in the Washington Post. And he asked the congressman, what does he say to people who feel as if they have given their all and that nothing has changed? And his response, I think, really encapsulates the man that he was. He said this: you must be able and prepared to give what you can until you cannot give anymore. We must use our time and our space on this little planet that we call Earth to make a lasting contribution, to leave it a little better than we found it. And now that need is greater than ever before.
Yeah, the loss of Congressman Lewis is very hard because he believed in the promise of America. He believed in the promise of our democracy. He used every breath that he had to work on it. And so now in this moment, as I think about the work that we still have left to do, especially around voting rights, which he was so passionate about, I know that we have work to do. We have to build on what he has done, and that we're going to carry on. He was an inspiration. He never, I mean, if you ever met him, you would know right away that no matter what he was going through, no matter what the country was going through, he inspired us all to be better. And that's the work that we have to do, and that's what the movement is now demanding, is that we be a better America. And we are now taking on his work and taking the torch, and we're going to carry on.
Nicole, Judith mentions there the continued fight for voting rights. And I want to talk about December, when John Lewis presided over the House vote to restore the Voting Rights Act. That bill has been sitting on Mitch McConnell's desk since then. Is now the time to push that through, considering the passing of John Lewis?
Absolutely. I don't understand how you can be an elected official in this country and give your sympathies for the passing of this great American and yet not work to restore the Voting Rights Act to the fullness that he fought for. John Lewis nearly died on that Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, marching for the key linchpin to citizenship in this country, which is the franchise. And so the fact that this bill has been sitting there for 2 years and has not been able to move forward, if we truly want to honor this man, and if we truly want to honor our country, a democracy, then we need to be passing that bill and restoring these rights. And you cannot take with any sincerity or seriousness anyone who expresses condolences for John Lewis if they are not willing to support the bill that he fought for.
John Meacham, what was it like to spend time with John Lewis? What was it like to spend time with a man who put his life on the line? What drove him?
Well, I suspect, as everybody here can vouch for what I'm about to say, it was incredibly humbling. Because of what we do for a living, we spend a lot of time around people who have made great differences in the life of the nation and the life of the world. But to me, Congressman Lewis was the most transporting and sacred public figure and private figure I've ever been around. And that may sound sentimental, but it's true. There was a kind of, he was conversant on a different level than certainly a poor sinner like me. He was in tune and in harmony with a level of faith in what the country could be, and even more so what we all could be. So it was an incredibly pastoral presence, if you will. What drove him was the gospel of Jesus Christ. And that may sound old-fashioned, but he was in the streets. He was on that bridge, he told me repeatedly, because of faith. Because he believed that what happened at Golgotha and what Jesus said on the Sermon on the Mount mattered. And they weren't simply words that folks who look like me should listen to or repeat on Sunday mornings and then not do anything about the rest of the week. That's what drove it.
All right, Derek, Nicole, Judith, John, thank you all for your voices on this. We all mourn the loss together of the loss of Congressman John Lewis. Still ahead, everybody. John Lewis spent over 3 decades in Congress, more on his career as a lawmaker and the mark that he left on Washington, D.C., and the administration's differing messages on masks as well. Dr. Anthony Fauci urging local and state lawmakers to be as forceful as possible on face mask rules. But the president says he has no plan for a national mandate.
Hot. No, there's no space there. Maybe you were here? Oven mitts. Oven mitts. Everything's stuck in the drawers. I'm sorry. Oh, jeez.
Hi.
Kelly Clarkson.
Try Wayfair.